What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Monarch news roundup, and in today's video we will be finishing off the events from August 2022. That's right, in this video we are going to be continuing to cover the chronological development of the MonsterVerse Monarch television show. And it's always a good day when we get to talk about set photos. I am excited about these ones, and I think there's some hidden details here that we can bite into because they might be juicy. Starting out, as usual, I want to show off some art. I want to first show off Phasey's Godzilla 2019 Atomic Breath art. This is great, it looks really cool. I really love the neon highlights he put on this thing, it looks awesome. And I appreciate it being dedicated to me. I'm sorry it took me literally 4 years to show off, but I still wanted to show it off, so here we are, and I think it's a really cool thing. I really like the different colors in the Atomic Breath itself. That was a nice touch. Next up, Jack Lespooky recreated the Godzilla King of the Monsters Chinese poster. This is our only poster to feature all of our 4 Toho monsters together. He did a really good job with this. It looks great. Looks just like that poster. He did a great job recreating that. I love the use of colors in here as well. He did a super good job. Next up, the Lord Angel did the Ghidorah Alpha Call, and he recreated it with some incredibly apocalyptic background colors. It looks so intimidating and awesome. It's one of my favorite shots in the movie Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I think he's done it justice here with this drawing. This is great stuff. Great job, man. This is just an incredible piece here by Gary Yan. This is such a cool one. I love the colors. I love the clashing between the yellows and the blues. I like the way the yellow spills over into Godzilla. I also like that the yellow is motivated by the lightning coming down. That's a super cool detail. And then just the smoke effects look great, and I really like that trail coming out of Godzilla's mouth. I always love it in art when monsters have that kind of thing going on with them, so I love it here as well. I think it's a great job. GNA released a Titan War picture showing Ghidorah and Godzilla fighting while Rodan and Mothra fight in the background. Just all the different colors here is so beautiful. The blue, the green, the yellow, and the red. It's so cool. It is such a cool image. I love GNA's art. I love the style, and this is another one that I thought was amazing, as is this one from GNA, this Strawberry Moon Ghidorah art. This is so beautiful. It's incredible. It just looks so pretty and menacing. It's got that perfect blend between horror and majesty that the MonsterVerse excelled at, especially in Godzilla King of the Monsters. And so I really love this piece. I would love to see a shot like this in an actual movie someday, because that is incredible stuff. You want to see something really cursed? Well, the next thing we're talking about is such a cursed image. You remember the iconic Godzilla 2014 beautiful poster, the best poster the MonsterVerse has ever seen? Well, if you're like me when that poster came out, you always wanted to know, what does the rest of Godzilla look like? What does he look like under that city? And unfortunately we have the answer here. Gormoru Island reshared the Godzilla 2014, I believe this is a Chinese statistics poster. Could be Korean, but I think it might be Chinese. But this is a stats poster breaking down how big is his teeth, how big is his feet, where does a Gundam stand in relation to him, where does this temple stand? What about Crimson Typhoon from Pacific Rim? Well, he is only half the size of Godzilla. And in this photo we do have the reveal of the bottom half of Godzilla's body. Now it isn't rendered or color graded as well as the top half, because of course it was never really meant to be seen, but it does give us a clear look at what Godzilla looked like underneath, and it's just cursed. It's weird to see after all this time. It's weird to finally see it, but it's such a great render too. I would love for them to just release that render to the public, because that's a great render of Godzilla right there, and it looks awesome. The Legacy of Monarch has been one of many families: the Randas, the Russells, the Sarazawas, Brooks, and Shovijin. Of course, the Randas is depending on if they keep that plotline in Godzilla vs. Kong, but KDM pointed out that Monarch has a familial legacy in and of itself of a lot of family members sticking around throughout multiple generations. He pointed out that that'd make for a great special feature, and I agree, Legendary, use that one. That's a great thing to add on to Blu-ray. The families of Monarch, it's incredibly fitting with the television show that's coming out, because that's the whole point of that show. So that would be a cool thing for them to release. KDM teased a look at the Hourglass Slate for season 1 of this show. Now we have seen a slate in a previous video. That one came to us from Canada Graphs, but you can just see generally they're using the same Godzilla 2014 font, which is cool. This time green rather than red. I liked the red better. And that's really all we can gather from this, other than that the working title for the show Monarch was Hourglass at the time of the show being filmed. Of course, Monarch is not the final name of this show. The rumor is that it will be called Monarch Legacy of Monsters or The Legacy of Monarch, depending. But again, until Legendary picks an official stance, I'm gonna keep calling it just simply Monarch. Filming was slated to occur in Vancouver's Chinatown. That was gonna happen in one of the upcoming months. And I'll talk about that in the next Monarch video, because that did happen. Obviously, no surprise, filming in Chinatown for Vancouver, that's because they were filming Chinatown destruction scenes from San Francisco. It was just substituting Vancouver's Chinatown for the San Francisco one from the Godzilla 2014 movie. Just as simple as that. Speaking of the filming for the Monarch television show, Godzilla goes home. Godzilla went back to Japan, baby! It's unknown if Godzilla is going to appear on land in the Monarch television show. However, we do know a bulk of the show itself takes place in Japan, and I have a feeling they can't resist putting Godzilla in Japan. Japan has been Godzilla's home for nearly 70 years at this point, and so it would be crazy in the MonsterVerse for Godzilla to never set foot in his home. So I do think that the Monarch television show is going to bring Godzilla home, and we have some set photos that will lead us in that direction. Filming began in Tokyo with crowded streets and a man in a window. This was our first filming that occurred in Tokyo. If you look, the man in the window is actually not being filmed. They are filming down on the crowds, so it might not even be the man in the window. He might just be a spectator to this all. But it's just a lot of extras in the streets. Again, I don't have a ton to say about that, so I'll keep it rolling. The juicier stuff we have to bite into was first pointed out by Pat Aufu Juye, I don't know how to say that name at all, who originally posted a picture of the crew for the Monarch television show setting up a Godzilla evacuation shelter. And I'm gonna quickly overanalyze this photo so that I can keep the discussion moving much quicker when we talk about all the rest of the set photos, but basically, they're setting up Godzilla evacuation shelters in Japan because, of course, now Godzilla is an international threat. Godzilla has now made himself publicly, and at the time of this show taking place, the world believes he is going to be the only monster still alive. Of course, the question is that there probably are more out there, but Godzilla is the only one that's confirmed to be alive. So it would make sense that they would put up Godzilla evacuation shelters. They don't yet have the term Titan, so they're not putting up Titan shelters. They don't know that term yet. That comes later on down the line. Also, Muto is now being publicly identified with the creatures that attacked San Francisco, so they're not going to say Muto shelter because those guys are dead. So it makes sense to me that they'd put up a Godzilla evacuation shelter. This is just classic Godzilla visuals right here. You know, a Godzilla shelter in Japan telling people to go to the subways is something we've seen in a lot of Godzilla movies. It's good stuff. Always like that. I don't know if it's going to get any use in this show, but I think the fact that they filmed a lot of their stuff here and there was lots of crowds makes me think that maybe, just maybe, people will be going into the evacuation shelters in this show. However, I will say, it's not like we have any videos or set reports or anything saying that massive crowds were rushing into it, so it didn't seem like they were filming any chaotic scenes. Of course, that could just mean that those clips weren't recorded if that does happen in the show, but as far as we're going to understand, this is just some set decoration and not necessarily a plot point where people are fleeing from Godzilla into these shelters, at least at the time they filmed this clip. The thing I find the most interesting about this Godzilla evacuation shelter is the logo of Godzilla they have used. Now, I don't know why Legendary wouldn't use one of the pre-existing Godzilla renders that they have. Maybe they just wanted to make it artistic for the show because that's better set decoration, to be honest. Creating a brand new Godzilla illustration for this takes a lot more work than slapping a PNG that already exists onto a green background. So I really appreciate that they've drawn a new Godzilla here. However, this Godzilla does not feature the spines of the legendary 2014 Godzilla. This looks more like a hybrid between the spines seen in the 2014 movie and the spines seen in the 2019 film, which makes me wonder, is this our first indication of what the official Godzilla design for this television show is going to be? It does look more in line with the 2014 show. The assets of that 2014 Godzilla would no longer exist. It's not like they can just pull up an old computer and start using that 2014 design again. There are new production VFX companies involved. Who knows where those files originally wound up? They're owned by different people. So they're going to have to create a new Godzilla for this show. The question is, what Godzilla is that going to be? Is it going to be one that looks identical to the 2014 Godzilla, which it really should, in canon it really should, or is it going to skew more towards the 2019 Godzilla that has become the base Godzilla of the MonsterVerse, the one that has had more appearances? I personally think they're going to lean more towards the 2014 design, and this render is an indication that they will do so, as he does feature much sharper, more jagged spines. But again, it's not identical to the 2014 Godzilla. That could just be a stylistic choice that they used, because why would an artist properly render out the full Godzilla detailed outline in the real world when they're putting up an evacuation shelter when they could just draw a rough silhouette of him? Or it could be an indication that they are going in a little bit different of a direction, creating their own design of Godzilla for this show. Maybe they have taken their own unique stance on Godzilla, because this does feature a much more 2019 styled tail and much more 2019 styled feet. One detail I really like is that it does show Godzilla using his atomic breath. That means that the public is aware of Godzilla's atomic breath. There are two renders of Godzilla on this evacuation board, and both of them do feature different spinal designs. One of them gives us the full side view, which features spines that again look like a hybrid between 2014 and 2019. Well, I'm not saying that they necessarily redesigned Godzilla for this show. I'm saying that this could indicate that design changes have occurred to Godzilla, and maybe this show is going to ignore the comic book Godzilla Godzilla Aftershock, which featured Godzilla getting his spine shattered so that he had to regrow new ones. And maybe it'll start to show Godzilla's spines naturally evolve into the spines from the 2014 film over the course of this show, or multiple seasons or whatever. It'll probably never get to the 2019 design, but I'm just saying maybe they could start to show the spines becoming a bit more rounded, a bit more Maple Leaf-esque. To quickly run through the rest of the set photos here, we have photos of the crew setting up the poster. We have a photo from afar just showing that they have set more of these up than just on this one station. There's some on walls of buildings, it looks like. Lots of crew gathering in the streets, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of extras involved as well. I believe what we're seeing here in this photo is maybe one of our lead actresses next to a monitor showing them filming upwards towards a building. I don't know if that's going to be a shot in the episode or anything, but it could just mean that the camera was being moved while still connected to the monitor. That's always a case. Most of these photos just depict the cast and the crew gathered in the streets of Tokyo. Some photos show wide shots of a lot of buildings, which again, it looks like these are the buildings that the camera was shooting up towards, which means again, maybe we could be seeing somebody come out on a balcony or something along those lines, or it could just mean the camera was being moved and this was what they were near. We do see photos of an interior. This interior could be underground. I can't quite tell. If it is, maybe it does mean we are going down into the Godzilla Evacuation Shelter, or even if it isn't, maybe this could be the building that Godzilla Evacuation Center connects to. This looks like an indoor market that they have clearly loaded all of their gear up into, so they might not even be shooting in there. This might just be where they're storing their gear. VFX shooting occurred at the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building. Now this building has been featured in Godzilla films before. If it looks familiar to you, it should. It was in Shin Godzilla. Now I don't know why the wiki fandom doesn't announce that it was in Shin Godzilla, but it was. It was in Shin Godzilla, and it was also featured prominently in the ending of Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah from the 1990s. VFX filming occurring here could mean any number of things. Could mean they're trying to create an entirely different background. This was just the best outdoor exterior they got. Could mean they're trying to put some destruction. Could mean they're putting a Titan. Could mean they're just putting a car in there. Could mean literally anything. But VFX filming did occur. We see them setting up a big green screen, lots of crew with umbrellas. Maybe it was a rainy day. I can't quite tell. Lots of crew just standing around with reflectors, and that's about it. But it's fun to go back to previously occurring Godzilla locations, especially in the MonsterVerse when we haven't really gone back to them before. The Tokyo Metropolitan Building, I also believe, has a brief cameo in the Godzilla 2014 film, but it's like a blink and you'll miss it moment. The first official teaser for the Monarch television show was released. I probably should have broken up the first official teaser in the last news and update because I probably want to put the thumbnail as something to do with the new Godzilla design, but who knows, maybe I'll find a way to do both, I don't know. So here's our first official teaser for the Monarch television show. This post was originally done by Legendary on Twitter with the caption Monarch plus Apple equals film slate, so just they're filming the Monarch television show, that's all I meant. You've got an old calculator, an old keyboard, that looks like the keyboard that I'm currently using right now, so I don't know why I'm calling it old. It looks like we've got some maybe seismographs or maps over here. There's definitely a Monarch file, a bunch of papers of photos strapped together. I heard some people speculate that maybe the pictures are the pictures of the inside of a volcano, some old round glasses. We also see something under the glasses labeled mono. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm thinking maybe an audio recorder. An old CD that I can't quite tell what it says. Maybe the disc says August. That might also be what it says. I can't totally tell. I can't tell what's on top for sure. It looks like it's got an H at the start and an L at the back and maybe some S's in there. And then it looks like an AU something on the bottom of the disc. And then very prominently displayed in the center of this frame is an old hand pouch that is very withered and aged, and it's got the Monarch logo on the side. It looks like a military green. I'm gonna guess that this is one of two people's belongings. I'm gonna guess that this is probably my number one suspect is Hiroshi, Kentaro and Kate's father. I believe this is Hiroshi's stuff. I have a feeling that this could be a scene in the show where Kate discovers this old pouch of Hiroshi's, opens it up, finds all this stuff inside, realizes that he was part of Monarch, and this sets the whole plot in motion. Now that could be the case. The only other character whose belongings I could see this being is Lee Shaw, the older version played by Kurt Russell. I could see this being his belongings, but considering that they released this photo very shortly after they announced the casting of Lee Shaw, I don't know. I think that it probably more than likely is Hiroshi's. One detail that I find very interesting in this is that I think again we're getting a teeny tiny look at Godzilla. I could be wrong. It's it's hard to tell. This is a low resolution picture and it gets very pixelated the further in you zoom. If you see what I see, this photo looks like we're looking upward at Godzilla and he's got his neck crinked to the side with his mouth open, because I can see the teeth, I can see Godzilla's head, I can see him looking to the side. I can't quite tell if I'm actually seeing any of what I'm thinking I'm seeing, but this photo does look like an artist rendition of Godzilla to me. So I think that could be our first look. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's cool that we got our first official promo, but keep in mind that came in August 2022 and we've heard nothing. Not one thing officially since then. Not that I know of anyways. And I talked to Chris from Toho Kingdom recently and he said that Apple TV is known for not promoting their shows. They're known for just kind of just going, here you go, without a trailer or any fanfare or anything like that. So I wonder what the marketing for the show is gonna look like. It might be pretty weak compared to what I was expecting, considering that there's only a few months left for them to release the show this year. Probably gonna be pretty weak. Maybe like a 1-month campaign like what we saw with Netflix's Skull Island. I don't know. That's where we'll end it this time. I want to give a huge thank you to all my patrons over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot to me. All that support really goes a long way towards supporting this channel and making sure I can keep making videos like this for you guys. So it really does mean a lot. If you want to support the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below where you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more. And that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.